Coming up on today's Locked On Senators. Still no announcement on who the next owner of the Sens will be, and with a long weekend in the States, tick-tock. I don't think we're going to find out today. But what better time than to give our reaction? Our good friend Ian Mendez with The Athletic put out his fan survey results, so we'll give our reactions.
And we're going to do a draft style, picking 3 former Senators players we'd like to see back on the team.
And is Kyle Dubas waiting ownership news to take a next job? That's all coming up on today's edition of the Locked On Senators podcast. It's your team every day.
Your Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
I'm Jake Sanderson, and you're listening to Locked On Senators podcast.
I'm Tim Stützle, and you're listening to the Locked On Senators podcast.
Welcome inside episode 808 of the Locked On Senators podcast. I'm Ross Levitan on the outskirts of enemy territory in Winnipeg, Manitoba, alongside Brandon Piller up in the Blue Mountains. Please like and subscribe wherever you download your podcast. We're also available on YouTube, where we want you to comment below. We want to know which former Senator would help the team the most going into next season, but you have to include their cap hit. I don't want anyone saying, Erik Karlsson at $1 million, we'd be winning the Stanley Cup. Yeah, we know. Today is Monday, May 29th. Pilsy, stick taps are in order for DJ Smith, world champion.
Pierre Dorion loves winners, so there's another gold medal to add here. But yeah, it's great that Team Canada was able to pull out with the gold medal. That's what we expect from this team anytime there's an international hockey tournament. But also, quick stick taps to Latvia, Ross, for that bronze medal. Did you see back in Latvia, they're having a massive party celebrating that medal? So that's always fun when the smaller countries get a taste of glory.
And pretty cool that we're doing our Sens Abroad draft. I don't think these two players will make the cut, but Kaspers Dogovins, a former fan favorite, Calder Cup champion with the Binghamton Senators, he came out of retirement to captain his country. The half of the tournament was in Latvia, half was in Finland. He leads them to glory. And Belleville Senator, as recent as this year, Christians Rubens, scored the game-tying goal against the U.S. with under 5 minutes left, and then scored the overtime winner. He probably saw Tyler Kleven over at the other side and said, this guy took my left side defensive spot on the depth chart. What the heck?
Yeah, I mean, he's getting his revenge. And my guy, Rudy Balcers, even had a decent tournament as well. So fired up for Latvia and, of course, fired up for Team Canada.
Yeah, congratulations, DJ Smith and Team Canada coming home from the World Championships with a gold medal around their neck. Germany wins silver, but no Tim Stützle. He is focused, ready, preparing for next season, where there is no excuses, Pilsy, that this Senators team needs to be a playoff contending team. And that was one of the questions that Ian Mendez asked in his fan survey. Part 1, we already did the discussion about, but this one is more so about player movement and whether or not Ridley Gregg should be a full-time NHLer. Which question and result caught your attention the most?
Well, we're a hashtag goalie-friendly show, Ross, and it was the question about the goaltending that caught my attention the most, and I'm just scrolling to it here so I can get the exact numbers for you. But Ian Mendez, here it is. Ian Mendez also was surprised by this. So the question is, would you be comfortable if the Senators started next season with goaltending duo of Anton Forsberg and Mads Søgaard? 41.1% said yes, and then obviously the remaining 58.9% said no. 41.1% saying yes, Ross, was high for me. Look, nothing against those two guys. Mads is a friend of the show. You guys know we love Anton Forsberg. But if the statement we just said a couple seconds ago, Ross, no excuses not to make playoffs, I'm not sure that goaltending duo can get it done. And again, that's nothing against them. I just don't think Mads is ready to take on that load. And we're looking at an Anton Forsberg coming back from massive knee issues where both of his knees were impacted on the same play. And yes, I do expect he'll be healthy come training camp, but man, that's a lot to ask of those two guys, in my opinion.
Are we not mixing Dylan Ferguson in here too? I mean, this guy's unbeatable.
I mean, that wasn't part of the question, so I'm just going off the question. But I don't know if 7 goalies in one season is the recipe for success, Ross, as we just learned.
No, I think they certainly need another guy in the mix. With that in mind, the fact that you're going to need more than 2 goalies throughout the season. Mads will get NHL games next year. I hope he gets NHL games next year, but I also hope that it comes in the middle of the season, not a Matt O'Connor, hey, Mads is starting the home opener. No pressure, kid. No excuses season. We need you right now. So I did find that super interesting as well. My biggest thing I'll get to after this because I want to stick with goalies because the follow-up was if the Senators were to target a UFA goalie this summer, which would you want them to take? And there was a clear-cut number one. Joonas Korpisalo is the guy. Now, he played unbelievable with Los Angeles after being traded with Vladislav Gavrikov from Columbus. And maybe take those Columbus stats with a grain of salt with the way that team's been going. But I think that in a very soft market for goalies this summer as UFAs, I think we might see some overpayments, not only on cap hit, though, on term. And that's what really scares me. I know it's also scary going the trade route because the Sens have been burned out twice, going with Matt Murray and Cam Talbot that direction. But I would probably look towards trading versus going to the UFA market.
Should we run through some of these names and gauge our interest on this? Like, Korpisalo is a great answer, but LA is not letting him go. Like,
You don't think so?
No, I don't see a world where they let him go. They obviously targeted him. They wanted to bring him in. Cal Peterson, I don't know what's going to happen with him. He's still got a long contract there, and I think Korpisalo is going to be the guy there. They're ready for playoff contention, and they need a goalie. I don't think they're going to let him go.
I know it's McDavid and Draisaitl, but those last 3 games were pretty ugly against Edmonton. 6 goals on 27 shots, and then 5 goals on 26 shots on the way out the door this season for LA.
Yeah, not great, but I just think, you want to go with the guy he had really great regular season stats for them going up to the playoff push. So I just think they're going to hold on to him.
All right. Well, outside of that, I think that we could look at a guy. Okay, feel free to laugh at me for this one. But, man, Freddie Anderson is the type of goalie that can get you to the playoffs. Okay? He can get you there.
Okay. Yes. Period.
Do you want that? Do you want to make playoffs?
No, I do. But Freddie Anderson is not the guy I want to be relying on in the playoffs. But, yes, I agree with you. Getting to the playoffs is good. And I think part of the narrative, though, is that the Leafs dumped him after they couldn't win a series with him. But just like Patrick Lalime, he is Freddie Lalime. That's the switch there. Just like Lalime, and that's why we call him Freddie Lalime. His numbers actually weren't that bad in the playoffs. Like, Anderson was not the reason the Leafs lost those series. He just couldn't come up with the big saves in the big moments, just like Lalime. So I think Freddie Anderson is an interesting candidate, but you can't be giving him term, and a free agent goalie like that, he's going to be wanting term. So that's what I'm interested in, but I don't know if that's the number one option.
The Ottawa Senators notoriously traded goalies within the division over the last decade. Robin Leonard to Buffalo, Ben Bishop to Tampa.
Yeah.
I'm doing anything I can to get Jeremy Swayman out of the Boston Bruins. That's my guy. That's who we need to go for. RFA this summer. I think you can get him at a decent price. Maybe you're going to have to give up some futures because Boston has none and their aging core. I think they probably want to, like a Yarventi, I think would be of interest to them. That type of player. And man, like Jeremy Swayman, we've seen that guy have some great outings. And that way I don't have to lose my voice chirping him at the home opener like we did last year. But Pilsy, all jokes aside, Jeremy Swayman is a guy who I've circled twice on my list as a guy who can Boston even. Basically, if Boston keeps Jeremy Swayman, they're probably going to have to move Taylor Hall. Like they have to move some money around one way or another.
Yeah.
You think they already have Allmark? This guy's going to win the Vez. He scored a goal last year. Come on. But no, if you're going to keep a goalie, it's going to be Allmark out of those two. So I don't know. I've got that in my eye on him if we're talking goalies.
Yep. I like Swayman a lot. I think that makes a lot of sense. A couple other names on the list here. Tristan Jarry, I'm out on. Seems very Matt Murray-esque, and not just because he's a Pittsburgh Penguin, but the injury troubles are there, inconsistent. I think he's a good goalie, but I don't think he's the right guy for the job. Varlamov is interesting, but I feel like you're just doing the Cam Talbot reboot here, because Varlamov, his numbers look good last year. He looks good in the playoffs, similar to Talbot. He looked good the upcoming games before he was traded to Ottawa, and it didn't work out. So I don't want to get an aging guy for 1 year. A guy that I'm looking at, Aiden Hill, really interests me here. But sorry, I'm losing my voice here. But Vegas, I don't think Vegas is going to let go of him either. Like, that's...
Well, they've got a million goalies. Like, if Leonard comes back next year, they'll have a decision to make.
Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen with Robin Leonard. I think
he needs money.
Yeah, but I don't think Vegas really trusts him right now. Like, I could see even a buyout situation happening there.
Well, Robin Leonard, we mentioned that. We should get to our Sens Abroad draft in just a minute, but obviously the biggest question here, and go subscribe to The Athletic. There's lots of great stuff. By the way, Pillsy, go look at your email right now. Maybe we'll tease a guest coming up at the end of the show, a big guest coming up this week on Locked On Senators. All that to say, what would you do with Alex DeBrincat this summer? 63.3 said signed to a reasonable contract that pays him less than Tkachuk and Stützle. Yeah, that's all well and dandy. I almost think we need to take that option out, because I don't know how realistic it is that you're going to get Alex DeBrincat when he's guaranteed at least 1 year at $9 million. Why would he sign long-term for less than $8.2 million? I just see that as kind of a wishful thinking response, but obviously that would be mine if possible. But this was an interesting one. 14.4% would be confident in letting him play out his qualifying offer. I wouldn't. I don't trust. I've been burned too many times before. And even with the return from Mark Stone, who was on that 1 year, and he even signed an extension where he was going.
Yeah.
That's too risky for me, man. I can't stomach that.
Yeah, I don't like it either. I think, unfortunately, it's possible that happens, Ross, but I don't like it either. I think the idea of him signing for less than Timmy and Brady is possible, though, because I think what DeBrincat might want to do is, that was a down year for him. I think he might want just a little bit of stability. He's got a young family, so maybe sign a 2-3 year deal. You guys know I've been all over this. Short-term deal is better for DeBrincat and the Ottawa Senators. Sign 2-3 year deal, stay with this core, try to have some success, come out the other side of UFA, and by that point, a new TV deal is coming up for the NHL, I'm pretty sure, and I think the cap is going to be looked to increase a big jump in that time, especially after recovering from COVID times. So I think that would be a smart play for DeBrincat, because then he can sign one massive contract after this and hopefully raise his value. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with DeBrincat. That's the big domino for sure.
A lot more questions are answered in this survey, like what would you do with Travis Hamonic, Eric Brandstrom, Ridley Gregg? Go check it all out on The Athletic and let us know in the comments if there's another interesting one you want us to discuss later this week on Locked On Senators. Pills, you see the email?
I did.
Very good. Very
good.
It. We'll tease it at the end of the show, but right now you're listening to Locked On Senators.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at eBay Motors. Everyone knows all about eBay, but did you know they can help you get the right parts for your car? For a championship team, it's all about making sure every player is a perfect fit. You gotta have the perfect fit, and it's the same with your vehicles. Every part needs to fit just right. So next time you need parts and accessories, head to eBay Motors. Just add your ride to My Garage and look for the green check to know your part will fit, or you get your money back. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure every part fits the first time around. And with over 122 million parts and accessories, you'll be sure that you can find your part and get back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. So get the right parts, get the right fit, and get the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. Check it out today. eBay Motors.
Today's episode is also brought to you by my happy place in Ottawa. It's Shawarma Palace. I said it simply in the banner that's scrolling at the bottom on YouTube. I love Shawarma Palace. I do. All 7 locations, but you can usually find me at Rideau Street, right by Chapel, Augusta, in that area. They also have one on Bank Street at Hunt Club. They've got another on Bank Street in Centertown area. You're never too far from a Shawarma Palace. Even if you're out in New Orleans, if you're south by Carleton University, they've got one in the food court. Saint Laurent Shopping Center. They are all over the place. And why? You can't build a great company. Ottawa's best place for shawarma since 1997 for good reason. People come back because it's great customer service. It's amazing food. It's fresh ingredients. The portion size are astronomical. It's just the best place to go when you're hungry. And you can also get it ordered right to your door. Check them out on Uber Eats, all available. Let them know that Locked On Senators sent you. They're huge Sens fans. Support local, support a great business, family business that provides the best food in Ottawa. Literally worldwide known Shawarma Palace from your streets of Ottawa. Go check them out. Shawarma Palace, a month away. I'm getting myself Shawarma Palace. All right, Pilsy. Should I answer, just say anytime, either day?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I'm working Wednesday night, but other than that, we can clear our schedule for this one.
Okay, anytime Tuesday or before 2 p.m. on Wednesday, I will say. While we await that, Sens abroad. We mentioned Robin Lehner. I think a couple of years ago, he would have been the guy first overall in this draft. We are going to draft our list of Sens abroad players currently in the league. I'm getting a lot of replies on Twitter at Sens Central. People want Mark Mathot back patrolling the Sens blue line. I think you have to ask him. I don't know if his knee is where it needs to be to play National Hockey League minutes, but it is great to see all these answers flowing in on Twitter at Sens Central. You can also reply in the comments on YouTube. Pilsy, I believe you got first overall in our concessions pick last week. So I'm going to go first here. And this one, I know the wound is still open here 6 years later. But I just looked, and Mika Zibanejad is making $8.5 million over the next 6 years. This guy 91 points. He's a number one center, and he's a right shot. Ottawa, I'd say a little bit less right shots up front than lefties. So I would even say, because I know you're going to answer, you're going to say, well, how are you going to fit that in?
Yeah.
I would probably move Norris if I had to for Zibanejad.
Whew, wow, this is not the direction I thought this would go off the bat. And
he's the best. He's the best Sens abroad player in the league right now without any injury concerns. Mark Stone's, it's a bit scary knowing there's so much time left on that deal. Mika's consistent 80 games per season type player, 81, 82, 82. And the points are just ridiculous. He had more points than Tim Stützle this year. Think of how good Stützle was. Zibanejad had one more assist, same amount of goals.
How many years left on that deal?
He's going into the second year of an 8-year contract, and he's 29.
Yeah, that's pretty damn good. Wow, you threw a curveball here. I was not expecting that, not gonna lie, but
$8.5 million, Pilsy.
No, it is the move, but yeah, you got to find a home for Josh Norris, and that's tough.
I mean, yeah, there's probably some. That wouldn't be my first call. I wouldn't be say sign him. All right, get on the phone and move Norris. Like,
well, you have to.
Well, if you don't re-sign DeBrincat, there's his money right there.
But then who moves to the wing? Norris
or Zibanejad. I mean, Norris's shoulders aren't perfect.
Yeah,
so.
You're not going to move Zibby to the wing. No.
I don't know. He's got that one timer. Throw him on the left side. Let him rip the pill.
Yeah. Huh. Okay.
First overall, Mika Zibanejad.
All right. I am very surprised by that, but I like it. And it's hard to argue a guy like Mika Zibanejad on a contract like that, not bringing him back. So that's a good one. I'm going to go with who I thought was going to be your number one pick. So I'm taking it off the board. Connor Brown. Like, it still frustrates me to this day that they traded him for a second round pick, and he would have been the guy they need. They need guys that can kill penalties. He can score goals. He led the team in goals a couple seasons ago. He's a restricted free agent. He loved being in Ottawa from what it seemed like. DJ Smith and him, they were guys that go back all the way to the Leafs days. And I just think Connor Brown would be the perfect guy to fit on that line. Like, if you have a line of Matthew Joseph, Shane Pinto, and Connor Brown, I think your bottom six scoring woes would be helped out enormously, and that penalty kill stays strong. So Connor Brown is my first pick.
Okay, I like that. He's unrestricted free agent now, but you meant when he came to.
Oh, sorry, I said RFA. I meant UFA. Sorry.
No, I like the deal. Ottawa did sign him out of his RFA. He was traded to Ottawa with 1 year left on his deal, re-upped at 3.6 per year. Just finished that contract out with Washington. What scares me there, though, Pilsy, is again the full season injury he missed. But you mentioned it, man. He would add that depth scoring that they so badly need, and maybe would do it on a 1 year. Hey, prove that you're back and go get your 4 or 5 year contract.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a long-term deal. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead next. And that's a bit of a cheap one, though, Pilsy, because we're saying at the current cap hit, this guy doesn't have a contract right now.
Well, what? So all UFAs are just off the table?
No. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. Okay. You're going to love this then. It's another guy that currently does not have a contract. He is an RFA, though. Philip Gustafson is my next pick. And I know you're not a Gus guy, but
he would have been my next pick still.
What does this team need more than anything? Stable goaltending. And Philip Gustafson, I honestly believe that Bill Guerin acquired him thinking this is a great backup for Marc-Andre Fleury. And he took that number one job and ran with it. And look, if you would have asked me before last season started, if Ian Mendes' question, would you be comfortable of a goalie tandem of Philip Gustafson and Anton Forsberg moving forward? I would have said no, I would not have been. But after the season he had in Minnesota, I think you could have Philip Gustafson and Anton Forsberg and they could get you to the playoffs. And Forsberg has 2 years left on that deal. In 2 years' time, I think Mads Søgaard is ready, and you could have a tandem of Philip Gustafson and Mads Søgaard. Some homegrown talent would be great to have as a goalie tandem in the Ottawa Center system. Now, Gus is an RFA, like we mentioned. I have no clue what kind of contract he's going to end up getting, but with an RFA, the team has the leverage, and I think it would be a short-term deal rather than a long-term deal if you're Philip Gustafson. That's what you're going for. So I think that's something that would work out great for the Ottawa Senators.
Yeah, I like that. And like I said, even though I'm not the biggest Gus guy, I will say he would have been my next pick. And by the way, Joey Decord leading the Coachella Valley Firebirds to the conference finals right now.
That's awesome.
He's playing red hot, so good for our boy Joey Dack. So your two picks, you got Connor Brown and Philip Gustafson. I've got Mika Zibanejad, and I'm gonna go. I'm gonna do it, okay? Because somebody's kind of got to go in that bottom pair. We're talking about like who's gonna be that right side third pair. I know I'm about to be his neighbor. It'd be fun, but Dylan DeMello would be a great addition. Like and a guy who, if there's an injury in the top four, you're super confident with him playing with your best players because he plays such a calm, mistake-free game. And you're not really anchoring yourself to much contract. He's only got 1 year left at, I believe, a $3 million cap hit. So he's a guy who would be a no-brainer. Reacquisition. Should have never really been traded. It kind of felt weird the way he left for a third-round pick. And it ends up being Levi Marilainen, and we've got high hopes for him. But Dylan DeMello would be my second pick in this draft.
That's a good one. I glossed over him. That's a really good pick. I like that one a lot. Yeah. I've always been a DeMello guy. Because
you mentioned it. What do the Sens need? Stable goaltending. What else do they need? A defensive structure. And that's just kind of what he brings game in, game out, is he's the kind of guy that's going to be able to really help out on the back end. So that's my second one right there. And for my third one, another guy who should have never left, had one of his most successful seasons of his career in Ottawa. And this year was tough for him, but again, he came back from a year-long injury, had 30 goals last year, and he's not making much. What's his contract at? I need to find this out. It's Anthony Duclair. I mean,
nice. He's on my list. That's a good pick. He's 1 year left at $3 million, I believe.
Yeah, 1 year left at $3 million. Like that's easy to get a potential 30 goal scorer, a guy who can play in your top six, play in your third line. Like he would just add such an element of speed to this team. Anthony Duclair I'd love to see back.
Yeah, he would be great on that third line. Just like I mentioned, putting Connor Brown there. Like if you have a third line of Anthony Duclair, Shane Pinto, and Matthew Joseph, like those wingers have such good speed. Duclair was one of my favorite players when he was here, and I was baffled when they didn't send him a qualifying offer. And Ross, I said it on the show, and I meant it. If they would have re-signed him, that was going to be my next Sens jersey. I was such a big Duclair fan, and that was tough to watch him go.
Maybe we could ask why he wasn't qualified to someone in the know.
Yeah, well, I mean, it'd have to be someone pretty high up to have that info.
Okay. Who's your third pick?
My third pick, and you're gonna roll your eyes at this, and I don't care. I'm doing it. He's already been mentioned on this show. Bronze medal winner, Rudolph
You're
Balcers.
such an idiot.
Because look, this team is getting to a cap crunch here, and you need to find guys that have potential that aren't going to be making a lot of money. The guys we mentioned for the third line, Ross, Connor Brown, Anthony Duclair, those guys are in the $3 million range, which if you plan on signing DeBrincat, getting a goalie, you're not going to have a lot of money left for that bottom six. Whereas Rudolph Balcers, you could get him for under $1 million, probably 1 year deal. And it wasn't that long ago when he went to San Jose after they reacquired him. In 61 games, he had 23 points, which, hey, that doesn't jump out at the page at you. But if you're looking at cost per point, it's pretty efficient. And I still am of the belief that that guy has more potential than he's being given credit for. So Rudolph Balcers as a cheap bottom six guy that could play on your third line, I love it. And I know that's a bit of a homer pick by me. I've always been a Balcers guy, but you got to find good value contracts. And I think that would be a good value contract.
All right. Well, then my honorable mention is Christina Domenico.
Nice. I mean, that would also be a cheap deal.
So funny that we've mentioned Christina Domenico, 3 times in the last week on this show? That's more than we did probably his entire time playing for the Ottawa Senators. But
I mean, he's a popular guy in hockey circles these days, right? Everybody's talking about Dito.
Everybody is. Wow, great stuff. All right, let us know in the comments who would be your top choice. Again, Erik Karlsson would certainly be on this list, if not for the $11.5 million cap hit. Mark Stone would be on this list if it weren't for the back injury concerns. Lots of great former Senators. Hey, Colin White at under $1 million is certainly a lot more reasonable than 4 point what? 4.
But
6?
Ross, if this, I don't know how this works in our scenario, but you also have to add on the $800,000 you're paying him in the buyout. So you can't forget that.
All right. We'll talk more about this as things go on. Again, the Florida Panthers waiting to find out their opponent in the Stanley Cup Finals. It's either Vegas or Dallas. Game 6 tonight in Dallas. Coming up on the other side, is Kyle Dubas making the Pittsburgh Penguins wait for the Sens ownership? And Neko Sparks decided to take to Twitter and have some discussions with Ottawa Senators fans over the weekend. That's coming up next. You're listening to Locked On Senators. All right, Pilsy. Final segment of this Monday show. And I want to begin it by asking you, if we record at 11 a.m. tomorrow Eastern time, will the Ottawa Senators ownership news be broken by then? Are they waiting for the end of the long weekend to dot their I's, cross their T's, or do you think this is going to extend another week?
If I had to guess, Ross, my guess is leaning towards it extending rather than getting solved soon. So until we know, I'm gonna say we're gonna be waiting more, because this was supposed to be solved a while ago. And look, I know it's frustrating, but in the end, I don't have a problem with it taking time. I'd rather take the time, get it right, dot all your I's, cross all your T's, make sure everything lines up, and you pick the right group here, because Ottawa Senators fans deserve to have a good ownership group, and that's all I want to see, no matter how long it takes.
The overwhelming news, I guess, from the weekend, and we'll get briefly to Sparks kind of firing back at a fan or creating a spark, dare I say. But I think kind of the bigger news and what's making sure this is getting closer to a resolution. Bruce Garriock reported yesterday that Livia and Anna Melnick, the 2 daughters who are currently the owners and will retain up to 10% of the team. So they still have a vested interest beyond just having the sale price as high as possible. They want this next ownership to succeed, not only for their legacy, but for their stakes in the company. They met with all 4 of the ownership groups last week. So that's another step. Man,
shout out to those girls. Like that, what they're doing right here is so insane. Like I couldn't imagine us, Ross, in our early 20s, sitting down in a board meeting with people presenting potentially billion-dollar bids, and you're on the other side of that table. Like, it's incredible what they're doing. So I really believe they deserve a lot of credit.
Yeah, they certainly do. And they're going to have their say in who the next owner of the Ottawa Senators will be. On Twitter this weekend, it was a message from Neko Sparks towards AJ Perez. We actually talked about his tweet on Friday, mentioning honesty, fairness, respect. This came out after reports Frank Saravalli, Ian Mendez, both reporting that the Neko Sparks group, as recently as last year, were trying to solicit more funds, trying to get more money from investors. They were sending out emails. This is somewhat of an urgent matter, was the direct quote that Frank Saravalli got from that email to prospective investors or current investors that they just wanted more from. And Neko Sparks decided to go with the AJ Perez reply, saying that, hey, maybe they're not dialing for dollars, which is a banker term for securing money, but mentioning that all four groups are well capitalized. Now, I also clicked on AJ Perez's tweet, the one that Neko Sparks retweeted, and it was interesting that the follow-up was, yes, I still have questions about the big money behind the Sparks group. That was literally that reporter's follow-up to him saying that, which I did kind of think was funny. But, of course, Twitter being Twitter, there's going to be a very wide variety of answers to any tweet. Let's put it that way. And Neko Sparks replied to 3 of them. One of them from Bori6666 said, Neko, you better start cooking. And I think that's kind of an internet term for like stay hot, basically, right? Like, yeah, I'm cooking right now. Like Jimmy Butler, when he scores 50 points in a game, he's cooking, right? Like Nathan McKinnon gets a hat trick, he's cooking. Timmy bats a puck out of midair and scores, he's cooking. All right. So like that. Already cooking, my man. Media not even close. Change comes hard, but here we stand. Okay. All good. Yeah. Another guy replied saying, the address in your Twitter bio is the back of an auto parts store. Like, these are things that you just got to let go. Might want to check again, my guy, is his reply there. And this is the one that caught a lot of attention. 107 replies, 68 quote tweets.
Yeah.
Somebody replied, and it's Stugatz in O-Town, quote, well capitalized yet begging for quarters. This bid is held together with spit. Maybe not the most respectful reply that you've ever seen, but again, one that you can just scroll right past. Instead, Neko Sparks replies, quote, how would you know? Wait, you don't. Your judgment is based on what you read. Unfortunately, those aren't the facts. Obviously, we're still here for a reason, and it's not spit and quarters. Line up with the other haters because we're not going anywhere. Pilsy, when you saw that come across your timeline, what was your immediate reaction?
My immediate reaction was, do we want owners clapping back at fans on Twitter? Probably not. But
my immediate reaction was,
let's hear it.
Imagine we had Eugene Melnyk uncensored on Twitter for the last decade.
Oh man, it would have been wild. And I mean, hey, but then right after that, Ross, I thought, you know what? If I was Neko Sparks, I'd probably be a little pissed at all the rumors and things that people are saying as well. Now, I don't pretend to know anything more than everyone else here, so I'm not saying whether he's rightfully doing that or not. But I just think that's not what the Neko Sparks group needs right now, especially with they've been very public and they don't have a problem being public, and that's fine. If that's your approach, that's cool. But clapping back and calling people that are potentially fans of the team you're trying to buy haters is an interesting approach. I'll just say that.
Yeah, it is. And a couple follow-ups from him right away. Everyone is entitled to their opinions, regardless of how inaccurate they are. Neko Sparks says, I love Ottawa, the team, and deeply believe in everything we stand for, inclusiveness and the Stanley Cup. I apologize for responding to the personal attacks leveled against me. Then he follows up again saying, everyone asks, what do you love about Ottawa? This is what I love about Ottawa. My favorite moment with a complete stranger. This game brings us together. A Stanley Cup will make us great. I will stay focused. And it's him with a Sens fan at a game. And people are giving me a really good laugh because obviously he's got one of those like custom jerseys, I would imagine, that says Sparks on the back, 23. People are thinking it's a Travis Hamonic jersey. I got a real good kick out of that.
Is that a telltale sign? Hamonic re-signing?
Let's go. It's like when Anna and Olivia Melnyk had 22 on their jersey from last year. And everyone's like, are they Zaitsev fans? So funny. So again, that's neither here nor there. My only thing I would say about that is if you're an owner of a team, and look, it all stems from the fact that the Senators maybe haven't had the most stable ownership over the last 20 years. Everyone is a little gun shy of what's to come next. Everyone is very protective. It's like we all have a teenage daughter and she's bringing home all these prospective boyfriends. We're like, hey, we got to vet this process. We got to make sure everything's on the up and up here because we cannot afford to have what we've had in the past. So that all comes together and you're like, okay, well, the one group that's being public, when you become public, part of that is you're kind of inviting feedback, right? If
you got to take the good with the bad if you're doing that. Yeah.
So if you know that as a business strategy, you're going to be very public and say, we're in it, we're in it, we're in it. Expect haters. That's cool. You have to have thick skin to be an owner of the Ottawa Senators. Billboards might come up. Things might happen. You have to be able to just brush it off your shoulder, know that you're doing a good job, and keep it. Because at the end of the day, this is fans of a team that's lost a lot of hockey in the last 7 years.
Yep.
If the Neko Sparks group wins and then wins hockey games, they're going to be the best owners that the Senators have ever had. It's really that simple. The correlation, let me try this again. The Venn diagram between a good owner and a team that wins is one big circle. That's all Sens fans want is a winner on the ice. Of course, we love everything that they stand for, the inclusiveness and how they want to grow the game into a diverse network. Love that.
It's great.
It all comes down to the Stanley Cup. All comes down to playoffs. All comes down to a team and a city that loves their team and has felt that it's been chipped away at for the last decade. And now it's like the big chance to blow up the balloon once again and make the Sens great, make them a big part of the hockey world once again. And it just kind of feels like we should all be pulling the rope the same way, not picking a couple people who are like offended in the comments and going at them. It just like, I don't know. And we ratioed his initial tweet just asking if he wants to come on the show to discuss, because if he doesn't like the way that he's being portrayed or the narrative, come on the show. We will literally just put it on a tee and you can take it any direction you'd want. So open invite.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if you're going with the public approach, what better than to join a podcast and be able to have a proper discussion, not through
with
tweets. Yeah, like why not do that? So yes, obviously open invitation. We'd love to talk to him because we have our own questions and concerns that we would love to hear his opinion on and not have to rely on other sources and reports and things like that. So yeah, 100% I would be interested in having that discussion and I think it would be great. But I think with the Neko Sparks group, they just need to show that they're not in this for a spectacle. And I'm not saying that they are. I'm just saying that's the way it comes across at times. And if they can continue to talk about what they want to do for the city of Ottawa, if they can continue to show that they're not just bringing on these celebrities to smile and wave like everybody is a part of some sort of plan, then look, that's great. I love it.
Same here. And they have to have Shawarma Palace in the new arena. Otherwise, we riot.
Well, I mean, obviously, yeah. it was my 1-1 pick on concession food options. Of course, Neko Sparks knows that.
It was the unanimous 1-1 pick for the Neko Sparks group.
It was the Connor Bedard of that draft.
Easily. You know what the Tim Stützle of the draft was? The one who didn't go first, but maybe should have. Farm to fork. Hey, you got your your farm to fork delivery.
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, delivered right to my door, which is amazing. Go check it out on Twitter, and we're going to put it on Instagram. I got sirloins, individually vacuum sealed, nice and easy to have one or as many as you want. And I got skinless chicken breasts. So, Ross, I got there's 10 sirloins, 10 chicken breasts. I got the next 20 dinners figured out here. I just got to find some sides for those. So I'm fired up about that for sure.
And cooking videos coming soon?
Yes, cooking videos coming soon, although I am a little bit nervous, Ross. Although I did go to George Brown College, same as you, I did not take culinary classes like you did. So can I cook a steak the exact way I like every time? No, not necessarily. So the pressure will be on for me to get a proper medium rare steak cooked in this video. So we'll see how that goes.
Funny you mentioned that because we did our frequently asked questions and listener questions. And by the way, the mailbag was so big. We were like Santa Claus running around with so many gifts or questions in our bag. And we didn't get to a few, so we will get to those later this week. But when they asked how Locked On Senators started, Pillsy, if there was a movie done about us, which I don't think there ever should or will be.
Maybe Neko Sparks could produce it.
There you go. But imagine if it started with like you living your life at George Brown and me living my life at George Brown, not knowing each other. And then literally College of Sports Media is like across the street, like just down there. So like a quick pan and like, you know, where they can like speed up the video, like a time lapse.
Time lapse.
Like, and then down the stairs into the basement. And then it opens.
You know the scene that just flashed into my head? We're both going to George Brown College. You're wearing your Chef Whites. I got my suit and tie on for my hospitality uniform. We're going into the doors. We bump into each other.
Yeah.
Books fall out of our case. Both of us have like a Senators like hockey card or like a poster fall out, and we just look at it, pick it up. Is this mine? Is this yours? Oh, whatever. Have a good day, man. And then boom. We flash forward to us meeting at CSN. That would be hilarious.
For some reason, the memory that stands out most of me being in class at George Brown was Ottawa acquiring Ben Bishop for a second.
Yeah, you're learning how to properly make like filet mignon or some sort of dish, and Ross is just like, yo, did you hear we got Ben Bishop? And the guy beside you is like, the Leafs got Bishop? He's like, no, the Sens, come on.
Hell yeah, that's awesome. All right, Pills, any final thoughts on today's show? Oh, we didn't talk about Kyle Dubas. Can you make that your final thought, please?
Yeah, sure. Kyle Dubas. As far as I'm concerned, Ross, Pierre Dorion is the general manager for the Ottawa Senators, unless Kyle Dubas is interested in becoming assistant general manager or being a part of the staff. Not that interested.
I'm going the other way, Pillsy. I think he might be president of hockey ops.
Ooh, going higher up there. That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, we know Kyle Dubas is a Sens fan. That's confirmed. And look, I don't have a lot of issues with the decisions he made, but the biggest issue I have is giving those guys all that money right away, because that's all his other problems stemmed from doing that, especially when they had team control and they just handed out $11 million to those kids. So
not only that, they handed them out to walk them right to unrestricted free agency.
Yeah, well, I mean, Kyle Dubas could have essentially done the magic meme. Oh, are you worried about giving these guys big deals and you're walking them right to RFA? I ain't gonna be here.
Yeah, yeah. I'm actually gonna be in Ottawa when these expire. So, but yeah, the reports are he met with Sidney Crosby in Pittsburgh. I thought Steve-On Sens nailed it with this one. He said he actually just went to tell Sid how sad he was in 2017 and how disappointed he was. But yeah, it seems like Elliot Friedman and Frank Saravelli are the two guys who are reporting that he's kind of waiting to see what happens in Ottawa. Like, I think he wants the Ottawa job or some job in Ottawa. But yeah, I don't think it's going to be GM. I think Pierre Dorion's back next year. And Pierre Dorion being back? What's that? The
Sounds
return?
good.
Return?
Yeah.
Pierre Dorion on Locked On Senators this Wednesday. We got the confirmation, Pillsy, 10:30. We're recording. Ooh. So at 1 o'clock. Any pressing questions, let us know in the comments as well.
Huge.
The one thing that nobody can say Pierre Dorion is shy. This guy will give you a great answer, a long answer, and I'm extremely excited to get him back on the show, because last time we had him on was probably his most euphoric day since 2017, signing Tim Stützle to that 8-year contract extension. He was on cloud 9. Now there's kind of a cloud of uncertainty with the whole organization being up for sale. How much is that affecting his day-to-day? We'll ask him that. But any other questions, let us know in the comments. We'll get to those with Pierre Dorion, which is funny as we say on today's show, Kyle Dubas, 3 question marks. But I truly believe there's a world where both Kyle Dubas and Pierre Dorion work for the Ottawa Senators front office.
Okay, yeah, I hadn't thought of him being president of hockey operations, so I don't mind that, Ross. I like that spin zone.
Remember they were looking for one, and then it just never happened?
Yeah, I remember they were looking for one. Which time? How many years are we talking here?
Yeah, well, I guess, they did bring in Ryan Bonus. He was as an assistant GM.
Yeah. That's not a president, yeah.
No, it's not a president of hockey ops. But if they do go out and bring him in that role, I'd like to give it a chance.
Yeah, I'd be interested.
All right, tomorrow on Locked On Senators, I think we should get a little more into the fan survey reaction, because we did a couple of the questions, but there are a few more that I think will spark some good conversation. We'll tee up Wednesday's interview with Pierre Dorion. Maybe we'll even get a Sens Central citizen, because we were going to do that Wednesday, but of course this just came on. You've watched the entire booking of an interview from the time this show started until right now.
For
So
real.
shout out to the Sens PR team. Really appreciate them being so easy to work with. And Pilsy, it's going to be a big week in Sensland. I'm going to go out on a limb for the third week in a row and say we're going to get an answer this week on who owns the Ottawa Senators.
Hey, I love the optimism.
You know what the NHL's dream would be, though, right? There's going to be a 3 or 4 day break between the conference finals and the Stanley Cup finals. For their news cycle, they would probably hope that it drops somewhere in that.
It's true. And Ross, let's do a Sens Central citizen style interview with Pierre Dorion. How about that?
How did you become an Ottawa Senators fan? That should be our first question. That would be hilarious. So we're now very pleased to welcome this Sens Central citizen. He's a man very close to the organization. Oh, he's the general manager.
Yep, I love it. Let's do it.
All right. For today, we say goodbye. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. This has been the Locked On Senators podcast. Your team every day.